Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wyoming's lone facility performing procedural abortions opened last year in Casper. On a routine basis, pro-life Wyomingites pray, hold vigils, and participate in advocacy activities outside of the clinic. Advocacy to the clinic patients sometimes involves giving a woman a rose and informing them of alternative services offered at crisis pregnancy centers. Local reporting suggests that clinic employees are now claiming that this peaceful advocacy is harassment of patients and employees. The clinic is now escorting all of their patients to and from the building in response to these peaceful actions. And earlier this year, one of the clinic's escorts actually pleaded no contest and paid a fine for assaulting a member of the pro-life protest group. There is now an attempt to elevate the harassment allegations to the local government. Mr. Vaughn, does the situation in Casper, Wyoming that I just described sound similar to your case?
It does.
And do you think prayer and peaceful advocacy are violations of the law, or are they instead activities that are secured by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution?
They are both First Amendment protected activities and activities of love and seeking to help others.
Have you experienced these attempted mischaracterizations of your peaceful activities as being criminal or violent in some way?
Right here in this very hearing.
We heard it just today from the member of the ranking member on the Judiciary Committee. Could you please explain and clarify what happened in your circumstance?
Thank you for the opportunity. I was not sitting at any door. I was not standing in any door. At no time did I block anyone. My only activities were praying and talking with the police officers and relaying messages back and forth between the two parties.
Okay, and do you think that the pro-abortion individuals who seek to misrepresent lawful activity as violence, that they're doing so because of the current administration's misapplication and unequal enforcement of the FACE Act?
I think there's an element of that. I think as a nation, we need to be able to communicate. And as long as we sit here looking at each other face to face and we're not able to communicate and honestly represent facts, what hope is there for the news to get actually out to the people at the clinics? And I would just add that the people going and seeking abortion, as Ms. Escobar told her story, that is a tragic thing. And if they stopped and talked to someone out at the clinic, what they will find is loving help and people that would take them to a crisis pregnancy center or offer some other solution to help if it's possible. And if it's not, then they would find someone that might pray with them and encourage them. But they would not find someone, if they stopped and engaged in a conversation and actually listened, someone yelling or screaming or abusing them verbally, and certainly not physically.
You know, those who hate wisdom love death. And I think that that's part of what we're dealing with here. And I think that goes, Ms. Hawley, to your statement about how you find it so utterly bizarre that crisis pregnancy centers have been the target of protests and activities and vandalism, when all it is that they're offering services and support to individuals in need. And I'm with you. I think it's such a bizarre target, but I think it demonstrates that this isn't necessarily a discussion about the FACE Act or the First Amendment or protecting constitutional rights or civil liberties. I think that there is a pro-abortion agenda that has been pursued, especially by this administration, that doesn't make sense. And I think that the abuse of the FACE Act is an attempt to criminalize the free thought and the ability for people to, as you say, peacefully protest. It's a sad day in America when someone who is praying or attempting to have that kind of a conversation that you're describing can be arrested years later for that behavior. Based on your experience with the FACE Act, Mrs. Hawley, do you think that the pro-abortion community is aware that the Biden-Harris administration is selectively applying the FACE Act against the pro-life community?
So I think it probably is, and I would point you to several press conferences that the Attorney General Gupta held. She announced just a short time after the Dobbs decision was released a reproductive task force, and noted that one of the goals of that reproductive task force during their daily meeting would be to seek out opportunities for FACE enforcement. And of course, that FACE enforcement would have been against pro-life individuals.
Is praying outside an abortion facility or offering women information on alternative pathways and options for their pregnancy a violation of the FACE Act?
It should not be, no.
And to your knowledge, would that violate any federal law, what I just described?
Not consistent with the First Amendment, no.
The Biden administration makes it appear as if the FACE Act is merely a statute covering abortion facilities, but in reality, it also prohibits certain acts against places of religious worship. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
So has the current administration, Attorney General Garland or Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark, prioritized protecting religious places of worship, especially in the wake of the anti-Semitic violence which has occurred in the wake of October 7th?
And the gentlelady's time has expired, so you may answer the question, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, sir. Not at all. The Family Research Council identified 436 attacks on churches and houses of worship just in 2023. There have been zero prosecutions under the FACE Act for that violence and threats.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your indulgence. With that, I yield back.
I think the gentlelady, I'll now